Now to that big federal trial in downtown Portland that began this week regarding the massive merger between Fred Meyer's parent company, Kroger, and Safeway's ownership, Albertsons. I want to make sure that we're all up to speed on what's going on here. This is really huge in terms of national implications, and it affects everyone who buys food. So, yes, that does mean you. This trial is all about a request for a temporary injunction, so it's requested by the federal government to put the brakes on this proposed merger. If the judge in Portland grants the injunction, the Federal Trade Commission will then run this merger past an in-house administrative law judge. The companies definitely do not want that. Their lawyers have said that the in-house process almost always kills these big mergers because of how long and cumbersome the process is. The deals simply just fall apart amid the delay, they claim. Now, this deal would be worth $24.6 billion and would be the largest supermarket merger in U.S. history. The main lawyer for the Fed says the two chains compete in 22 different states, which helps keep prices low for consumers. But the companies counter that the government's missing the point that the chains are really competing against giants like Walmart. They say Walmart grocery sales in 2003 were $63 billion, and last year it was more like $247 billion. The Feds say the merger would kill competition, meaning higher grocery prices and less bargaining power for union workers. Oregon federal judge Adrian Nelson will hear from about 40 different witnesses over the next 3 weeks, then decide whether to issue the injunction. It's all happening right here. Day 4 of the trial wrapped up today, and we caught up with Bloomberg reporter Leah Nylen, who has spent all of this week inside the courtroom. She said there was interesting testimony from C&S today. That's the company that's set to buy hundreds of stores in the merger, but is lacking in some experience.
The FTC has made a sort of big deal of the fact that C&S, the company that is buying these stores, has no experience in pharmacy and no experience in fuel. And so all of the executives who testified today confirmed that. C&S has only ever operated one pharmacy and has only operated it for 2 years. And they have never operated a fuel center. So this would be a completely new area of the business for them, which is, again, something that the FTC in the various states argue is not great for consumers because they might come in and not really know what they're doing.
We also asked Leah about her headline from earlier this week that's been making waves online, how inflation took center stage in downtown Portland.
And then there was the head of pricing from Kroger who got on the stand and was talking a little bit about how inflation has affected the pricing. And he did say that they definitely try and pass the inflation on to consumers, like they don't want to sort of pick that up themselves. But there was an email from spring of this year in which he acknowledged to his own bosses that the prices at which they have raised things like milk and eggs have actually been more than inflation. So even though, it has increased the costs that they have to pay as the retailer, they've actually taken a little bit of advantage of that and kept their prices higher than they needed to otherwise. So in some of these examples that we saw, they were talking about, as much as like a 32-cent swing in egg prices in a week. And Kroger was not dropping its prices, those 37 cents, even though they got it cheaper from the poultry farmer. They were keeping it higher because, all of the money that they get from that is money that can go towards, their sort of bottom line.
That egg profit makes me mad. I eat a lot of eggs. All right. All sorts of interesting things coming out of this trial. One other thing for you, C&S wholesalers run Piggly Wiggly. Those are stores in Southeast. You may have seen them if you've traveled or if you're from there. Today, they said in court that if the merger goes through and they buy hundreds of stores in our region, Piggly Wiggly will not be coming to the Pacific Northwest. If you haven't heard of them, that really is the name. They would plan to rebrand 49 Safeway and 9 Albertsons stores to QFC and leave the other stores with their original names. Now, if you'd like to read more about this trial, and we really think that you should, check out Bloomberg.com and go find Leah's fantastic reporting. We're planning to check in with her a few more times before the trial wraps up in the middle of next month.